We're going to be talking to the super uber talented Maggie Entre-Rios. You guys need to check her out right now on Instagram, on the Instagrizzle, Little Patterns. This is Maggie. She's super cool. She's super fun. And here's some of her work. So cool. I want to find out about how she does this. Is she using reference? Are there digital pens involved, or is this digital inking pens? Maybe it's not all analog. Maybe it's a little bit digital. And here are some facts that you need to know about her. She's a botanical illustrator. Some of her clients include Apple, Crayola, Instagram, Sephora, and DSW, the shoe company. She's also been featured on a Today Show segment called Things We Love in 2017. Let's take a look at some of her work. Okay, talk to us about your process. How are you doing this? Like, where does this come from?
This piece I did for a demo that I was doing at Apple in Chicago. I was doing like an illustration demo. And
I was at Apple, but I was buying a cable. It's a little different.
Oh yeah, no, you get those for free.
Okay, keep going. You're killing us. Yes.
Yeah. So this was done entirely in Procreate. I was at home when I did this, but it was for the purpose of showing the start to finish and the capability of Procreate. What I like about this piece is I did it really cleanly because I knew I was being recorded. But yeah, so this is pretty typical of my color illustration work. So it's all done digitally, raster. I definitely would not do vector for something like this.
Yeah. Okay, so you're doing this thing. Are you doing a sketch first? Like, do you use reference?
Yeah. For the ampersand, I just kind of wanted to create like an ampersand I had never seen before. So I just kept playing around with shapes. I didn't really follow any rules, which I probably broke a few, but I dig it. And then for the flowers, I do occasionally use reference, but for this particular piece, I chose to sort of make up flowers. Unless I'm working on like a fragrance line that they have like really specific things they need included. It's much more, well, I would say it's more streamlined for me to not be following strict rules. So maybe I'll take like the shape of an existing flower and then look at it for a couple minutes, draw something similar, and then start filling it in with maybe fantastical or whimsical details that don't necessarily exist.
No, that's cool. I like
really like them. I also find that makes my work look way more unique than if it was just, clip art flower style.
Right.
So there's definitely a lot of imagination woven in there as well.
A lot of you guys are sitting there thinking, because my mind is blown right now, in that Maggie, I think, knows flowers and plants so well, she could just make it up.
Definitely the opposite. Like, I definitely don't know them, so I just make them up. You can make up plants and they'll look fine.
Let's take a look at another piece as everybody's mind is popping right now. She's using Procreate, guys.
It exports to Photoshop with layers intact.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So how long does it take you to do one of these?
No, I would say the most average piece I work on is around the 30 to 35 hour mark. But that includes sketching, concepting, sign-offs, full process, finalizing artwork, putting artwork into templates. That's my most average project. So this was actually commissioned by Procreate, which is the app I use to draw. So this was, they had just come out with a bunch of new features, especially the grid tool. And I built this illustration for them. It was not meant to be a time lapse. It was just a final piece, but I wanted to add in that time lapse component. So this one I also drew keeping in mind that it was going to be shown. So I tried to really clearly show the steps I was using, where traditionally I may work even in some ways from like left to right. Like I may just fill in like the entire left side of something and then slowly build it over. But in this one, I really did like layer by layer by layer, just trying to provide a little clarity. So yeah, I don't play with hand lettering or typography often. I mean, I play with typography a lot, but I don't usually fully craft it from start to finish. But this one I did.
Okay, what are you doing now?
So I'm playing with the symmetry tools here. I always draw fully line work before I add color in. And lately I've been kind of expanding that a little bit and trying to draw individual layerable assets so that I can use them in other projects and kind of start building a library of plants that I can layer, just take a little bit of the total manual aspect out of drawing. I feel like I've got that opportunity working digitally. So a lot of my projects that I'm doing now have like multi-use pieces about them.
And how long did this project take you?
This one was like 35 to 40 hours.
Wow.
This one took a long time because I was using a lot of tools for the first time.
Yeah.
Just the lettering alone, I think, took like 8 hours.
Are you using a custom brush or something that's just built in?
No. Yeah, no, I slightly, like ever so slightly, have modified the in-app brushes, but for the most part, I like my brushes to feel like a pen. So I don't really use anything that I could not replicate by hand. So like the pen tool that I use is built to be pretty similar to my favorite Micron pen. And then the color brushes I use are basically just like a fill brush. And I just add a little shading over the top. Like the actual tools themselves are pretty simplistic.
And so what do we do now? Are we coloring?
Yeah, so on this one I did each layer separately so that I could try to make sure I had some color balance across. And then I threw it all together. So it's kind of like individually illustrating each colored layer and then stacking them on top of each other.
Yeah, let's just admire this for a little bit, guys. So is this based on a serif typeface that we might recognize?
I'm not sure.
No?
No. What does it look like to you?
It feels a little like Bauer Bodoni with some...
I do a lot of Bodoni style fonts, but...
Like a modern sans or serif typeface, and then you did some flourishes with the A, you pulled it down there, just kind of scoop underneath the bowl of the U. I like that.
Yeah.
It looks amazing to me. Let's look at the third piece. What are we doing here?
Just having fun.
Is this a brush?
It's the Studio Pen brush that I slightly modified as well. It usually tapers slightly at the end.
Yeah.
I took the taper out.
So is the brush itself, does it make that teardrop shape and you're just drawing it that way?
Yeah, I mean with a certain amount of pressure.
Yes. Wow. So each one of these teardrop shapes is a brush stroke, right? You just pull it across.
A single brush stroke. Yes.
Is there a mask that's holding back the JOY, or is it just you're just staying within the lines?
No, so I'd already drawn the JOY. So I just did it in a slightly different color and built around it. Basically kind of cushioning a little bit more every time, but then whatever color I'm working in, I'm probably drawing red right now. I would like kind of create a ring of red and then bleed the red into open spaces in the colors before it. So just making sure everything's kind of evenly distributed. And usually I do that by color coding. So especially when I'm working on a really complex piece.
Yes.
Let's say I have like the same leaf woven in through a pattern 20 times.
Yes.
In order to make sure that I'm actually getting an equal distribution, I'll draw in a completely different color so that I can tell where I'm putting them and then swap it to black and white like as I finish it.
Okay, guys, I think we're kind of at the tail end of this. You guys, make sure you guys follow at Little Patterns. That's Maggie's account. That's Maggie. Enter Rios, littlepatterns.com, and that's it. So Maggie, thank you very much for coming on the show. You guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.